Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep today into a stack of sources, all really centered around one powerful and often kind of overlooked theme: hormonal imbalance.
Mm,
It's described in these articles and research papers we looked at as something of an invisible enemy,
right.
often speaking in whispers. Maybe it's that fatigue that just won't lift, or frustrating mood swings that feel like they come out of nowhere,
Hmm.
or just that persistent feeling of not being quite right in your own body.
Yeah, that feeling of being off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our sources, they really span the spectrum from the core science of the endocrine system to very personal stories and also practical, holistic approaches.
It's a broad look.
It is. And our mission in this deep dive is really to cut through the noise, pull out the most important insights from all this material, and truly understand what our bodies might be trying to tell us. And maybe fast-track our way to being genuinely well-informed about, well, reclaiming hormonal harmony.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So we're going to explore what these chemical messengers actually are, how they work together like an incredibly complex orchestra. That analogy came up a lot.
That's a good one.
What disrupts their balance according to these sources, how they connect really fundamentally with our emotions.
Which is huge.
Huge. How we can start to understand our own unique hormonal picture through testing and tracking, and maybe most importantly, the practical, holistic ways these sources suggest we can find that balance again.
And what's so compelling looking across these sources is this foundational idea. Hormones are chemical messengers, yes, but their job is much more intricate than just sending simple signals.
Right.
They're coordinating nearly every biological process you can think of: metabolism, mood regulation, reproductive health, sleep cycles, even how you respond to stress.
Wow, everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They're produced by your endocrine glands, which are sort of scattered throughout the body: the thyroid, adrenals, pancreas, ovaries, testes, and others.
Exactly. And the sources really lean heavily on this idea of the body as an endocrine orchestra.
Think of each gland as a section, or maybe an instrument. When they're all playing together, in sync, that's harmony.
Makes sense.
But imbalance, whether it's too much or too little of just one hormone, it's like an instrument playing way out of tune. And even a slight dissonance can, well, throw off the entire performance.
Right. It has these widespread effects.
Widespread and profound effects, on both body and mind. This is really the core of that invisible enemy concept we saw. These imbalances, they don't typically announce themselves with, flashing warning lights.
No, it's
Very subtle. They just sort of drift into our lives, altering how we feel, think, and interact, often before we even recognize the root cause.
And the ripple effects, as multiple sources pointed out, they go way beyond just physical symptoms. This orchestral disharmony profoundly impacts mental and emotional well-being.
Like how?
Well, we're talking increased anxiety, irritability, feelings of depression, chronic burnout. Several personal accounts really highlighted how it strained relationships, too.
Made connection difficult, impacted intimacy, that sort of thing.
So connecting this directly to you listening, this is the underlying reason. You might feel like you're just not yourself anymore, Or maybe you feel like you're doing all the right things, eating well, exercising, but you still feel stuck.
Right, still struggling.
Struggling with fatigue or brain fog or weight that just won't budge. These aren't character flaws. They're not signs of personal failure. These are powerful signals from your body's orchestra telling you something is out of sync.
And recognizing those signals is really the first key step, because as these sources detail, they manifest differently across different bodies and different life stages.
Go ahead.
For women, the whispers of imbalance often appear as irregular or intensely painful periods, severe PMS, bloating, persistent fatigue, that brain fog you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, the brain fog.
Weight gain, particularly around the middle, unexplained hair changes, stubborn acne, and significant shifts in anxiety or mood. And then during perimenopause and menopause, the signals might get louder hot flashes and night sweats alongside the other stuff.
And it's crucial to understand, as the sources stress, this isn't just a female issue, right?
Not at all. For men, the signs can include things like decreased libido or even erectile dysfunction, loss of muscle mass, maybe with more body fat, fatigue. Noticeable mood changes like being more irritable, hair thinning, disrupted sleep patterns, and just reduced motivation.
It affects everyone.
And no age group is immune either. The sources made that clear. Teens can show severe acne, irregular cycles for girls, rapid weight changes, extreme mood swings.
Wow.
Issues with puberty timing, difficulty concentrating. And as we age, yeah, hormonal shifts are natural, but imbalances can contribute to specific challenges. Things like worsening insulin resistance, more significant thyroid issues, sleep disorders, cognitive changes, even bone density loss or joint discomfort.
Here's a point that really jumped out at me from several sources, challenging some common assumptions.
Okay.
These symptoms, they're often just casually dismissed, right? But the research really underscores that feeling consistently unwell is not just a normal part of aging.
Right. Significant discomfort isn't the baseline.
Exactly. And another key thing was that these issues absolutely affect men too. It's not gender exclusive. And this was interesting. Having normal results on standard lab tests, that does not automatically mean your hormones are optimally balanced for you.
That's a really important distinction, optimal versus normal.
Huge. Many people experience debilitating symptoms, even when they're technically within those conventional reference ranges.
Mm-hmm.
The sources also push back against the idea that medication is the only solution, highlighting how powerful holistic approaches can be. And, looking healthy on the outside doesn't guarantee internal hormonal harmony.
Absolutely. These symptoms are real, they're valid, they're common, but they are not what a healthy, balanced system feels like.
That really leads us into the fascinating complexity of this endocrine orchestra and just how interconnected it all is.
It really is. It's not just individual instruments. It's how they play with and react to each other. You've got the hypothalamus deep in the brain acting like the main conductor. Kind of, yeah. It links your nervous system to your endocrine system, constantly monitoring things like hunger, body temperature, sleep cycles, and then it signals the pituitary gland.
And the pituitary, that's the master gland, right?
Yeah.
It's like the lead section taking cues from the conductor.
Precisely. It produces hormones like TSH for the thyroid, ACTH for the adrenals, LH and FSH for reproduction, growth hormone, prolactin. It basically sets the tempo for many other glands.
Right.
Then you have the thyroid, positioned as the body's metabolic engine. It controls how you use energy with hormones T3 and T4. One article used the analogy of the strings section foundational, but highly sensitive.
The sensitive, okay.
Think hypothyroidism. It's a sluggish thyroid, like the strings dragging the tempo down.
Makes sense.
And hyperthyroidism, overactive, like they're playing way too fast.
Right.
Then the adrenal glands sitting on top of your kidneys, they're your stress responders.
Cortisol central.
Cortisol, adrenaline, DHEA, yeah. Powerful hormones, crucial for survival, but like the percussion section, they can easily get overworked, become dominant, and disrupt the whole rhythm.
Right.
This is where that concept of adrenal fatigue or burnout, which is widely recognized in holistic health circles, comes into the discussion, even if the specific term is debated conventionally.
Gotcha. And the
A
pancreas.
blood sugar regulator. Releasing insulin and glucagon to keep your energy supply steady, like the timing mechanism of the orchestra, crucial for rhythm.
Okay.
And finally, the ovaries and testes, the reproductive hubs, producing estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. They're like the soloists whose voices rise and fall in distinct cycles throughout life.
Puberty to menopause or andropause.
Exactly. And what multiple sources really illuminated are these intricate feedback loops, like the HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, or the HPG axis for gonads, HPT for thyroid. These axes are how these glands talk back and forth, regulating each other. When one part is struggling, the others try to compensate.
And that creates a domino effect.
Exactly, a domino effect of imbalance throughout the whole system.
Can you give maybe one or two concrete examples of that domino effect, something from the sources? Sure. A common one highlighted is chronic stress. So elevated cortisol from constant stress can actually suppress the thyroid.
Really?
Yeah, it slows your metabolism, which then often leads to weight gain and that pervasive fatigue.
Wow.
Another example involves sleep. Poor quality or not enough sleep disrupts the delicate balance of melatonin and insulin. This often leads to increased cravings, unstable blood sugar, which then further increases cortisol.
Creating more chaos.
More hormonal chaos, yeah. And we also saw discussions around things like estrogen dominance.
Right, too much estrogen.
Maybe exacerbated by external factors like xenoestrogens from toxins in our environment. Too much estrogen relative to progesterone can deplete progesterone levels, making things like PMS, anxiety, sleep issues worse.
So bringing this back to you, the listener, this deep interconnectedness is precisely why seemingly unrelated symptoms, why is my brain foggy and I'm bloated, why am I anxious and have acne, can actually be traced back to the same fundamental system being out of sync. As the sources emphasize, true healing means looking at the whole picture, understanding how these different instruments are affecting each other.
Which shifts us from the what and how to the critical why. These sources collectively make a strong case that hormonal imbalances aren't just random bad luck.
No.
No, they describe them as accumulating over time, stemming from multiple disruptions in our environment, our lifestyle, like a slow leak that eventually overwhelms the system's ability to cope.
And the key culprits, according to the material, seem deeply embedded in modern life. Chronic stress and that resulting cortisol overload came up again and again.
A primary driver.
Yeah. And it's not just feeling stressed emotionally, right? Prolonged stress physically floods the body with cortisol. This actively suppresses thyroid function, inhibits reproductive hormones, increases insulin resistance, and messes with sleep.
And it includes physical stressors too, chemical exposures, even environmental stuff like constant noise or a poor diet. It's not just overwhelm.
Right.
A major theme was the impact of toxins and those endocrine disrupting chemicals, EDCs.
The invisible invaders.
Pretty much. They mimic or block our natural hormones. Common culprits identified were BPA in plastics, pesticides, chemicals like parabens and phthalates in personal care products, household cleaners.
Stuff we use every day.
Often, yeah. They accumulate in the body, interfere with hormone receptors, and contribute to issues like estrogen dominance, thyroid problems, fertility challenges.
And diet. That came up a lot too. Blood sugar imbalances.
Foundational disruptors. Diets high in processed sugars, refined carbs, unhealthy fats cause these constant spikes and crashes in insulin.
Right.
Chronically high insulin doesn't just promote fat storage, it increases androgen levels, which is a major factor in conditions like PCOS.
Polycystic ovary syndrome.
Exactly. And conversely, if your diet lacks essential nutrients, your body just doesn't have the building blocks like magnesium, zinc, B vitamins needed for healthy hormone production.
Gut health was another big one, often overlooked.
Hugely underestimated, according to one paper. Your gut microbiome plays a massive role in hormone production, recycling, metabolism, especially estrogen metabolism.
So an unhealthy gut, poor diversity, bad bacteria, leaky gut leads to chronic inflammation throughout the body. This disrupts hormone signaling and puts more stress on the adrenals. Some research even links specific gut bacteria imbalances to increased estrogen recycling, feeding into estrogen dominance.
Wow, the gut connection is powerful.
It really is. And sleep deprivation was consistently presented as a critical breakdown point.
Can't skip sleep.
No. Lack of quality sleep short-circuits the body's essential repair, detox, and hormone reset processes. It leads to chronically elevated cortisol and insulin, throws off hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin.
Making you crave junk.
Often, yeah. And it impairs production of growth hormone and melatonin. Just a cascade of issues.
And finally, they touched on birth control and other medications.
They did. While obviously necessary and beneficial for many, the sources noted they can suppress the body's natural hormone production or change how the liver processes hormones.
Several personal accounts describe links between long-term use and later issues with mood, weight, or libido after stopping. The key, as suggested, is careful consideration with your doctor to weigh the benefits against potential disruptions.
The collective message seems to be that the deck can feel kind of stacked against hormonal balance in our modern world because of all these disruptors.
They can feel that way.
But awareness is absolutely the first step towards regaining some control.
Which brings us to a really insightful point made across the sources, that profound mind-body connection. Hormonal imbalance, they argue, is never just a physical issue.
Our emotions play a huge role.
Inextricably linked, both a cause and a symptom.
How so?
Well, trauma, whether it's a single event or cumulative stress, chronic anxiety, unprocessed emotions, they create tangible ripples in your body's chemistry. They directly influence hormone production and regulation.
So feeling stressed actually changes your hormones.
Absolutely. Activating the stress response emotionally floods the system with cortisol and adrenaline. When that becomes chronic, that hormonal bath disrupts the delicate dance between estrogen, progesterone, thyroid hormones, insulin.
Wow.
Anxiety and unresolved emotional states can specifically lead to chronically high cortisol, contributing to that adrenal fatigue feeling and inflammation. They can alter thyroid function, disrupt menstrual cycles and fertility, that HPG-axis connection again.
Right.
They can worsen gut health, which we know is key for hormone metabolism, and trigger mood swings, depression, or even emotional numbness, creating this difficult feedback loop.
What was really powerful, I thought, was the consistent message that recognizing how emotional wounds or chronic stress manifest physically is fundamental to compassionate healing.
Yes?
It's not about blame. It's about acknowledging your body is reflecting your internal state And listening to that emotional wisdom is a vital part of addressing the whole hormonal picture.
So true. Moving from understanding the system to understanding your unique experience. The sources spend a lot of time on personalized understanding.
Eating specific.
Exactly. They frame understanding your own hormones as stepping into the driver's seat of your health journey. And accurate testing, they suggest, can provide crucial clues to potential root causes.
Okay, so what kind of testing options did they discuss?
Well, there's a spectrum. Standard blood tests are the most common, giving a snapshot of things like TSH, sex hormones, morning cortisol.
The usual suspects.
Right. But a limitation noted is they only capture one moment in time and can miss important daily fluctuations, especially with cortisol.
Okay.
Saliva tests offer a different view. They measure free or active hormone levels, including cortisol throughout the day. So they can be useful for assessing adrenal function and circadian rhythm issues.
And then there was the DUTCH test.
A DUTCH test, yeah, dried urine test for comprehensive hormones. Some sources presented this as a more advanced option. It gives a much more detailed picture analyzing hormone metabolites.
Metabolites.
Yes.
Meaning how your body breaks them down.
Exactly. How your body is breaking down and clearing hormones, like estrogen. It offers deeper insights into detoxification pathways, the complete adrenal hormone profile, their rhythm.
More comprehensive.
Generally, yes. Other important tests highlighted include checking thyroid antibodies for potential Hashimoto's, measuring glucose and insulin for blood sugar control, checking key nutrients like vitamin D, iron, magnesium, and also looking at inflammatory markers.
Now, here's something that multiple sources address directly, acknowledging a common frustration, feeling dismissed. Many people feel unheard when they try to discuss hormonal concerns with conventional doctors.
That happens a lot.
So they offered practical strategies for you, the listener, to advocate for yourself effectively. First, be informed. Understand your symptoms, research potential tests before your appointment.
Do your homework.
Keep meticulous records, track symptoms, cycles, mood, lifestyle habits, present a clear, documented picture.
Data helps.
Don't hesitate to ask specific questions. Clearly request tests you think are needed and follow up on results. Seeking second opinions or consulting functional or integrative practitioners who focus more on hormone balance was also strongly recommended.
Find someone who listens.
Practice respectful assertiveness. Use online patient portals. The consistent message: you are the expert on your own body's experience.
Absolutely. They also introduced the powerful concept of body literacy and cycle syncing, especially for those with menstrual cycles.
Tell me more about that.
It's about developing empowering skills. Understanding your unique hormonal rhythms allows you to anticipate how your energy, mood, appetite, physical symptoms will fluctuate through the month.
Okay.
Cycle syncing takes it a step further, suggesting you align your lifestyle choices, nutrition, exercise, social life, work demands with the different phases of your cycle or other hormonal fluctuations.
How do you crack that?
Simple apps, a journal, basal body temperature charting, observing cervical mucus, logging your mood, lots of ways.
And the point isn't just data.
No, the point is recognizing patterns. Those premenstrual dips, ovulatory highs, maybe adrenal crashes. So you can tailor your self-care and work with your body's natural tides, not push against them.
That makes sense.
And all of this really underscores the essential truth that healing hormonal imbalance is profoundly personalized. There is no single blueprint.
Everyone's different.
Completely. Your genetics, lifestyle, stress, diet history, environment, emotional landscape, they all shape your individual hormonal picture. Testing and tracking give you a roadmap, but the healing journey needs flexibility, experimentation, and self-compassion.
So how do we actually begin to reclaim that harmony? The sources offered a wealth of practical holistic strategies. They emphasize healing isn't just suppressing symptoms, but restoring the body's innate ability to find balance.
Right. The body wants to be balanced. It's intelligent. Give it the right support.
And food is usually step one, right? Food as medicine.
The cornerstone across all approaches. Focus on nutrient-dense, whole foods. Healthy fats were highlighted repeatedly. Omega-3s from fatty fish, flax, chia, walnuts, avocados, olive oil. Crucial for hormone production.
Okay.
High-quality protein for building blocks. Fiber vital for gut health and for helping the liver metabolize and get rid of excess hormones, especially estrogen.
Veggies, fruits.
Whole grains, too. And cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, they contain compounds that specifically support liver detox pathways for clearing estrogen.
Interesting.
And foods rich in B vitamins and magnesium, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, whole grains, essential for supporting the adrenals and managing stress.
And just as important, what to limit.
Processed sugars, refined carbs, they cause those insulin spikes and crashes. Excess caffeine and alcohol put extra stress on the adrenals. Artificial additives and preservatives were flagged as potential endocrine disruptors themselves.
Okay, so dialing in the diet. What else?
What one paper really emphasized was the non-negotiable importance of nervous system regulation.
Calming the system down.
Exactly. Consciously shifting out of that sympathetic fight, flight, or freeze state and into the parasympathetic rest and digest state.
How do you do that?
Practices like slow, deep breath work. They mention things like box breathing, 4-7-8 breathing. These activate the vagus nerve, signaling safety to the brain. Mindfulness meditation helps calm that mental chatter. Somatic therapies like gentle yoga, tai chi, trauma-informed movement help release stored tension. Even simple things like progressive muscle relaxation or grounding, walking barefoot outside, gardening.
Connect with the earth.
Yeah, anchor yourself. The point is to build resilience, training your body to return to balance more easily.
They also mention ways to support natural rhythms, like seed cycling.
Seed cycling, yeah. A traditional, gentle method to support hormonal rhythm through the menstrual cycle. Consuming specific seeds, flax and pumpkin in the first half, sesame and sunflower in the second half.
Interesting. What about herbs and supplements?
Herbal support, used for centuries, was included. And this is crucial with the strong recommendation to consult a qualified herbalist or healthcare provider.
Right, don't just guess.
Definitely not. Herbs mentioned included Vitex for progesterone support, ashwagandha for calming cortisol, maca for energy libido, milk thistle for liver support, holy basil for stress.
Okay.
Similarly, targeted natural supplementation can help. Things like magnesium for calming the nervous system, vitamin D for its hormone-regulating properties, omega-3s for inflammation, probiotics for gut health, adaptogens like ashwagandha or rhodiola for stress resilience.
But again, professional guidance needed.
Absolutely critical for safety, dosage, quality.
Detoxification support also came up: liver, lymph, skin.
Crucial area. The liver is the master detoxifier, essential for breaking down and clearing excess estrogen. Supporting it involves good hydration, bitter greens like dandelion or arugula to stimulate bile, foods like garlic, onion, turmeric.
Anti-inflammatory stuff.
Right. Supporting lymphatic movement through dry brushing, rebounding massage, encouraging healthy sweating saunas, steam baths, and importantly, actively reducing your exposure to environmental toxins in the first place.
Makes sense. Less in, less to detox.
Exactly. And finally, movement and rest were emphasized as non-negotiable pillars.
How much movement?
Movement should be supportive, not add more stress. They suggested syncing it with your energy levels or cycle phases, maybe more dynamic exercise when energy is high, gentler movement when it's lower.
Okay.
And prioritizing restorative sleep, aiming for 7 to 9 hours, was presented as a cornerstone, creating calming bedtime routines to optimize repair and hormone reset overnight.
So important. The sources also dedicated time specifically to the female hormonal flow, right? Framing the menstrual cycle differently.
Yeah, not as an inconvenience, but as a powerful monthly signpost of overall health and harmony, an intricate ancient rhythm.
What were the key phases again?
They recapped the 4. Menstrual phase, low hormones, time for rest. Follicular phase, estrogen rising, energy creativity boost, ovulation, LH surge, peak estrogen, peak vitality usually, and the luteal phase, progesterone dominant, potential PMS, time for self-care.
And they also discussed perimenopause and menopause.
Significant hormonal fluctuations there, yeah. Perimenopause, the transition phase, often starts in the 40s. Unpredictable hormones leading to irregular periods, hot flashes, mood swings, sleep issues, changes in libido, weight.
Sounds challenging.
It can be. Menopause is defined as 12 consecutive months without a period. Understanding these natural life stages helps you adopt targeted strategies to navigate them better.
And conditions like PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids were linked back to these disruptions.
Often linked back to disruptions in that orchestral harmony, yes. PCOS with elevated androgens, irregular periods often tied to insulin resistance, inflammation.
Yep.
Endometriosis, tissue outside the uterus causing pain, linked to immune issues, hormones, fibroids, growth influenced by estrogen and progesterone.
The central message seemed to be: embrace your cycle or your current life stage as a guide. Listen to its signals. Work with your body.
Fundamentally, yes. And finally, these sources consistently reinforce that rebalancing hormones is truly a journey. It's not a quick fix, not a destination you just arrive at.
It's ongoing.
Often gradual, rarely perfectly linear.
Hmm.
Cultivating patience and compassion for yourself is vital.
They stress building sustainable habits too, right? Consistency over perfection.
Absolutely. Small, intentional steps, a morning ritual, consistent whole food nutrition, regular movement that feels good, prioritizing sleep, moments of stress management, they gently reinforce balance over time. Progress, not perfection.
Building a supportive environment came up too.
Yeah, surroundings matter. Social connections, minimizing toxin exposure at home, setting digital boundaries, creating space for rest.
And letting go of perfectionism.
Essential. The cultural pressure is counterproductive, adds stress. Honor your limits, celebrate small wins, practice self-compassion. Balance is dynamic, a flow.
And they introduced that life fuel mindset idea.
Yeah, a powerful framework that resonated across several pieces. Stay curious. Keep exploring your body's signals. Seek knowledge. Try tools. Stay resilient. Bounce back from challenges. See setbacks as growth. And critically, keep the spark alive. Cultivate joy, creativity, connection that's essential fuel for body and soul, not just fluff.
That's a great perspective.
They beautifully framed this whole process as a personal revolution.
A revolution.
Yeah, a profound reclaiming of your connection to your body, your intuition, your vitality. In a world pushing towards burnout, choosing to listen deeply to your body's whispers and nurture yourself with intention, that's presented as a truly radical act of self-love.
Wow.
Your symptoms aren't shameful, they're valid messengers. Your body has been whispering. Now, through gaining knowledge like this, you're actively listening, you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. That silent disruptor loses its power when we give voice to our experience, seek knowledge, and make conscious choices for our own harmony. Your story matters.
What's so powerful and frankly fascinating after diving into all this material is just how profoundly interconnected our physical, mental, and emotional systems truly are. How a quiet whisper in one area, maybe from stress or a toxin or an unprocessed emotion, can create significant disharmony that echoes through the entire endocrine orchestra.
It really does echo.
We've seen that hormonal imbalance isn't just a simple checklist of symptoms. It's a complex, dynamic dance influenced by practically everything in our lives. Food, air, stress, emotions.
Everything.
This really raises an important question for you to consider. If our bodies are constantly speaking to us, not just in screams when things go critically wrong, but in these subtle, persistent whispers day in and day out, how much vitality, how much energy, how much overall harmony might we unlock in our lives just by truly learning to pause, listen with curiosity, and respond with kindness and intentional action?
A powerful thought.
This knowledge is your starting point. This is your potential revolution. This is your restoration.